Seoul Dynasty, they come already having built a dynasty, and they're looking to build a new one, Matt.
Oh, but Dreamcasper has the blade out, looking for kills against Roshan.
Is doggedly pursuing that kill.
And Boston, they may have done it, resoundingly winning that fight.
Jayhawk just knows what he wants. Seoul Dynasty bringing things back here now. Looks like they're in complete control. Should be proud. The lethal blow. What a game!
It's Friday night in the Blizzard Arena, and that means it's time for some more Overwatch League. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are coming at you live from Los Angeles, California. This is day 7 of the regular season, and we are just getting started. I'm your host, Chris Puckett, and today I'm joined at the desk. We got some of the biggest brains and the biggest analysts we could find. We got the 6'7" reinforcement back in action alongside Sideshow and our insider, Zoe. And we're coming off an amazing day 6.
Yeah, yesterday was fantastic. We had 3 spectacular matches, and then we ended with Los Angeles Gladiators reverse sweeping Philadelphia Fusion.
And that was the first reverse sweep you actually saw here in the Overwatch League, so that was really, really enjoyable to watch.
Really good matches to close out last night. The hometown team got a big win. Today, they're not playing. Well, let's look at our schedule as we're opening things up here. The Boston Uprising looking for a major upset as they take on the 3-0 Seoul Dynasty. A little bit later, the Shanghai Dragons and Florida Mayhem face off for their first win of the regular season, and the London Spitfire get a chance to improve to 3-0, going up against a Dallas Fuel squad that desperately needs to dig themselves out of a hole.
Yeah, that should be a fantastic match to close out today. Dallas Fuel, they're in a slump at the moment, but I believe in these guys. They can bounce back. They always have done in the past, and London are such a phenomenal team already.
I think that one at 8 o'clock is going to be our match of the day, but we're starting this day off with a good one. Give it up for our first team to walk out to the stage. It's the Seoul Dynasty. A very happy Miro, one of the greatest tanks in the game, leading the way. And this Seoul Dynasty enters the match at 3-0. It's a powerhouse lineup. They've gone through Dallas, they powered through the Gladiators, and they just sent Florida Mayhem packing.
Yeah, I mean, their results speak for themselves. The Dynasty looked strong in week 1, but they claimed they only performed at a 6 out of 10, so that means we haven't even seen their final form yet. And I really like that they have been experimenting at the last few games. They went for non-meta picks. We saw them swap in players we haven't really seen on the stage, and that just shows that they have the bigger picture in mind and not obsessed with just crushing their opponent.
Yes, and this time we're going to see Miro on the main tank role instead of Kiku, who has been their favored main tank so far this season. But still, it is Junkertown as our first map, and so I think we will see Miro on the Orisa.
Everybody wants to see Kuki a little bit later. Sideshow, who are you looking out for in this match?
Well, they brought in another DPS partner for Fleta. That's Wicked is going to be starting out today. And he's got such a deep hero pool that complements Fleta as well. He can play the Tracer like Bunny, like Munchkin, but also plays Junkrat for the team. He's been seen on Genji, on Doomfist as well. So this is a very flexible and diverse lineup on the DPS for Seoul Dynasty.
If you're just joining us here at the Overwatch League, keep your eyes on the man on the far right. Fleta has been a rock star, taking player of the match multiple times already just through their first 3 matches. It's time to introduce their opponents, though. Please put your hands together and give it up for the Uprising. Boston entering the match at a 1-1 record. They lost to New York XL 1-3 before going on to defeat Florida 4-0.
Yeah, this has been one of the most surprisingly good teams this season. They came in and they had no superstar names that we could really latch onto. They took some risks on players with hidden potential, and they are all performing at a really solid level. The discipline on this team, the way that their timing and executions have run so well, has really looked like they are a solid contender.
Yes, and it is much credit to Gamsu, who has a long history of playing professionally in esports. He's one of the more disciplined players on this team. Insane work ethic as well, and he doesn't leave anything up for chance. So much credit to Boston.
What makes Gamsu so good, Reinforce?
Well, he wants to study the game so much, and so every leap you see on his Winston, he's going to dictate the dives together with Dreamcasper on the lineup, and they're not going to leave anything up for chance.
There's a look at the young man. That is Gamsu.
Now, I mean, they have a big roster. They have a 10-man roster and several people to fill each role. However, they only have one main tank with Gamsu. Seoul has 2. They have very different play styles too, with Miro and Kuki. Now, very often the main tank style dictates how the rest of the team is actually going to play. So this could make Boston Uprising a little bit transparent for the other teams.
All right, they can see what is coming now. Well, the read may be something going against Boston. Let's talk about something that's in their favor. And Johnny, that's the map pool. Should they be happy with our opening 2 maps?
Yes, once again, we're going to play Junkertown. And the Korean teams have struggled quite a bit on Junkertown. So Boston Uprising has some upset potential. Last week, they beat the New York Excelsior on Horizon Lunar Colony, so they have a good chance there as well. And they crushed Florida Mayhem with a tank composition last week, which we're going to see for our 3rd control map.
Zoe, how is Seoul feeling coming into today's match?
Actually very good. I did talk to the team and to the coach, and they did say that they're very well aware of Boston Uprising's play style. They did mention their Genji player, their Tracer player, and this is kind of what they're going to look out for.
Yeah, Boston have a very set style. From what we've seen so far, they run this Tracer Genji, and Dream Casper is kind of their star player, the guy that's making the plays. He goes on big flanks around while the rest of the dive is set up, and Dream Casper can often be seen cleaning up those kills, and the timing and execution on those dives has been stellar so far. But it is one set style, and Seoul's greatest ability has always been to adapt to opponents. So we want to see more stuff from Boston Uprising, even though this has been spectacular for them so far, so surprisingly good. We saw a little bit of quad tank coming out from them previously. Things like this are what's required, I think, to knock Seoul off their game a little bit.
And here are just a few highlights. You mentioned Seoul can adapt to their opponent. Well, so can Dream Casper. So far throughout the regular season, he's played 9 heroes. Let me read these off. We got Reaper, Mei, Hanzo, Soldier 76, Pharah, McCree, Roadhog, Widowmaker, and Genji. Ridiculous hero pool, and he has shined in all of these heroes. But Johnny, when you're looking at this man today, what do you want to see him on?
I'd actually like to see some more Roadhog because he was so good versus Florida on it. He has insane hook accuracy, probably the best in the league actually. Yes, 87.5%, so that's an amazing hook accuracy right there. And if he can keep finding picks on Fleta or Wicked, I mean, that's going to make the difference.
I just got to hear from the audience real quick. I've been on Roadhog a few times. I can't remember a single game being above 60%. How many of you guys have ever put anywhere near an 87.5?
I mean, I have.
Exactly. Nobody here in the venue. Keep your eyes on Dream Casper. He is going to be the X factor if Boston wants to walk away with the win. Johnny mentioned it. The first 2 maps are in Boston's favor. We'll find out if they can get off to a hot start. It's time to set it backstage and get game 1 going. Let's send it over to Monty and Doa.
Hey guys, that's right. It is time to get started. Boston Uprising taking on Seoul Dynasty, and I'm excited about this one, Monty. Boston has looked better every single match we've seen them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and both of these teams are coming off 4-0 wins over the Florida Mayhem.
True.
So they've looked dominant in their last showing. I do think that, as was mentioned on the desk, it has been a struggle for Seoul on Junkertown. They did lose, of course, to the Dallas Fuel on our opening day on that map.
Yeah.
And then it was not so clean when they played against the Gladiators either. But with this starting roster, we have mixed things up yet again, and it looks like with, of course, Miro and Zunba back in the lineup, they may be trying to push very hard and play some of their best players for this particular match.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at that last one, and it didn't seem like they were, you know, taking it the most seriously. They did use more of their subs than we would normally see, so the fact that they're fielding this roster against Boston kind of shows you right off the bat what Seoul thinks of the level of this team, and I think we're going to see it in the gameplay, too.
Yeah, and we've seen some interesting attacks overall from the Dynasty on Junkertown. They've been successful running Jaehong on Mei on point A in conjunction with a Junkrat and a Roadhog. So interesting zone control and pick composition. And they've been really the only one who's been successful with that Mei. Other teams have tried, but they've been the one to make it work. And we'll see if they go with that lineup again on attack.
That's right, here we go. Boston Uprising on the defense. Seoul Dynasty going to be attacking first here on Junkertown. And Wekid switching over to the Junkrat. But will we see the Jaehong Mei? I would love to see that. Maybe after Sonic Arrow comes out,
yes,
he'll do it, but
typically I'm
not going to get my hopes up.
They do shoot the Sonic Arrow out first before the swap to Mei occurs, just to make sure that they're not going to be jumped upon by a quad tank coming out of that building that you see on the right-hand side of your screen right now. Jaehong looks like he is going to go Bastion, however, instead, so it will be that single support double sniper setup that we see most frequently here on Junkertown Attack.
Oh yeah, we have seen that quite a bit this season. It's been fun to watch. Zunba dodging a couple early shots, sneaking around the side. We'll see if he can get any of those early hooks. Popping out up on the high ground.
May's out.
Nothing yet. Oh, and yeah, Jaehong swaps over to the Mei. Cool.
Yeah, they are going to use this Mei again, and the idea here is that you want to push forward and use the ice wall to isolate targets and quickly shut them down. Also limits the enemy Widowmaker's ability to get long sight lines.
Yep.
Onto the members of your team, and you've got Fleta as well for a bit of counter sniping.
Oh, Jaehong, I mean, the thing is firing those Mei darts, those right clicks, the alternate fire is kind of like firing a sleep dart on Ana, so you know he's going to be ultra accurate with them, just the way that projectile moves. Going after Striker here. Has to take a break in the ice block, wall himself back to safety. And that payload stalled out just a little bit. Fleta does go down. Kalio's taken out in response here, but the payload's not moving at the moment.
Yeah, difference is that Toby is closer to be able to revive Fleta, and they're going to go ahead and use the Valkyrie right away here.
Whoa, Kelix! Wow, gets out of that Valkyrie just in time to dodge the hook, but he can't dodge all the bullets, and now that payload's gonna move.
And that's what trading for that Widowmaker can do in the Mercy meta. Even if Kalios flanks around the backside and manages to go ahead and take out the Widow, much easier to revive.
Hey, I was just impressed with Kelix canceling the Valkyrie just in time to dodge the hook. He died, but that was kind of a neat little move there, too.
Yeah, it definitely was, and we're going to see if Jaehong will maintain the Mei here for the next point.
Why not?
Yeah, getting close to the Blizzard.
That's right.
And that is true. Jaehong is the only player that has played more than 2 minutes of Mei, and most of the other players who have played Mei have been stalling out on the second point of assault maps.
Oh, yeah. Fleta taken out by Dreamcasper already. Maywall goes down, but Boston having firm control over the payload at the moment. And they found a good amount of defensive stability here at the beginning of point B. This is where you want to hold the payload if you get the opportunity.
Yeah, really it was Neko hitting the shots onto Jaehong that were able to clean up that point because the wall had already been deployed, cutting out one of their areas of attack.
Yeah.
And so that was what caused them to push back. And Jaehong with 97% of the way towards the Blizzard will stick on it. Miro now going to be over on the Winston, and Fleta moving from the Widowmaker to the McCree as a response to the dive composition that we see from Boston. He will immediately get a kill onto Striker.
Yeah, Striker's been such a good flanker for Boston, but Fleta ready with that McCree, has to back away now. Neko does go down. Flashbang, did he get the kill? No, not quite. Kelix still alive, but here comes a Riptire. Now Kelix taken down. Caught him in midair, and can Soul use this to move the payload?
Yes.
Like they can.
Yeah, yes they can. That revive not going to be enough. So the Riptire deployed at the right time. They knew that the Valkyrie was going to be available and targeted the Flying Mercy. That was a punishment because they knew the Mercy would come in to revive Striker, who had died very deep in the back lines against the McCree, against Fleta's McCree. So as soon as they see that, it's an opportunity for them to get the punish with the pick of the Riptire.
Oh, Dreamcasper comes in with the Dragon Blade out, but immediately dies. That was kind of a little bit more desperation than I think you needed there. They were going to take B either way. And that's going to give Soul maybe a little bit more momentum coming into C here.
Yeah, and Jaehong had the opportunity to drop the Blizzard, and it looks like he is going to be going back and swapping out right now. Usually a Zenyatta better on this last point.
Yep.
Too much verticality here. It's easy for people to get around the Mei walls, and you need that Orb of Discord to cleanly pick off targets and finish the map.
Weki's still on that Junkrat.
Yeah, so anyway, the result of that play is that they get a lot more value because they were going to switch anyway.
A couple ultimates used by Boston as they try to push Soul back a little bit here. Self-destruct, not really getting anything for Soul at the moment, but Gamsu just batting people around with that Primal Raging Winston. Boston once again will stall out Soul.
One of the bright spots of Boston has definitely been their tank line and Gamsu's ability to make plays with the Primal Rage. So catching them in a corridor right there, Gamsu is going to knock everybody back, get both supports actually off the map, and that will lead to a very quick teamfight win for Boston.
I would not want to be in a narrow hallway with an angry Winston.
Not just Winston, I take any angry gorilla.
I'd take pretty much any hero in Overwatch, actually. Wouldn't want to be in a narrow hallway with any of them. Not if they were angry at me. Miro has his Primal Rage up. Zumba does get the kill onto Gamsu. Maybe went a little bit too deep that time. Here comes Attire again, biding his time, trying to look for those targets. Is he going to find anyone? He finds Kelix again as Kelix goes for another res. Miro in that Winston ultimate right now, just ended. trying to pave the way for the payload to keep rolling.
And Casper, again, during that play, tries to dive into the back line to deal with Fleta, ends up giving up his life, and that's a big team wipe in favor of the Seoul Dynasty, and they're going to get some movement on the payload here while the members of Boston try and regroup. A couple of support ultimates are coming up relatively soon for them, but they are already going to be matched in terms of percent by the Dynasty.
I would say they're pretty close to having both support ultimates as well. They're going to go ahead and use the Valkyrie right away as Zunba goes deep. They're trying to focus Gamsu. They will be successful in doing that. Miro, though, falls as well. Here comes their res. Kelix, can they catch him again? Oh, he's so low, but he's in the Valk. He's getting that health regen, and he manages to make it out. Meanwhile, Zunba, ooh, lucky as well, as he is nearly DMAC'd on that Diva. They may have to take a break, and oh, wow, that's a Transcendence. They have to push forward with this. I don't know. Ooh, yeah, I'm not sure about that Transcendence from Jaehong there.
No, the Transcendence is going to come out later on Neko. Boston did a great job of attempting to disengage from the Trans and then re-engage with the Transcendence of their own, and they're starting to clean up this team fight.
Yeah, I would think so. Seoul used a lot and weren't able to push the payload like they wanted to. So now, looking at the ult economy right here, Boston with a pretty big edge with about 1:40 remaining.
Yeah, that was nearly a mirror fight for both teams as it started out, because Seoul initiates with the Valkyrie, and they send Miro in alone while everyone else collapses back on Gamsu's engage, because they figure if they kill Gamsu, then they can come back, push out, and immediately res Miro for the advantage. Unfortunately, they didn't count on Kelix also having his Valkyrie up during that time period. I think they had calculated it just a little bit off, and so because they end up engaging first, everybody's using these support ults, and they trade the same kills to start off. The later Transcendence allows Boston to get that upper hand. That's some really good team play there from the Uprising.
Yeah, certainly looking pretty well coordinated. Dream Casper trying to hold that high ground now. And Miro a little bit on his own here, got separated from the rest of his team. This could be bad. Forced to use that Primal Rage maybe a bit earlier than they wish. The payload is moving forward though. Boston biding their time.
Yeah, both Valkyries are going to be back up, both Transcendences soon afterwards. Wouldn't surprise me,
Blade.
a very similar style of play to the last one.
Oh, looking for targets, finally finds one on Wicked. Maybe he can take Toby too, not quite yet, getting zoned out by Miro, who's still up. Miro drops that shield, preventing a lot of the damage, so Dreamcasper not getting a ton of that ultimate. Oh, takes out the Riptire though. He knew he had it with the dash. Great heads up play by him. And that payload though, in the meantime, still getting pretty close to the end here. Jaehong with another Transcendence.
Kelix killed during his Valkyrie too, so this is the opportunity that Seoul needs.
Yeah, the right click, is he gonna find it? No, taken out by Gamsu. Meanwhile, Fled on the Tracer, and they managed to complete, keeping Boston off the payload for just long enough to get that third point.
Yeah, in spite of Seoul's successful attack, the Boston defense was quite solid. In fact, Kelix was great at holding on to that Valkyrie until the very end when they were forced to re-engage. Had he not died during that Valkyrie at the end, Boston may have had an opportunity to complete the hold. So Seoul struggling, especially with the enemy ults, support ult cooldowns as they approach the end of that map. And Seoul against Dallas Fuel also had a lot of challenges when it came to getting through point C.
Yeah, that is correct. And so Seoul does complete their attack round, but Boston certainly makes it a struggle.
Only 8.9 seconds left too, so that was a last-second push, and I think it's really a testament to how well Boston's been playing that they were extremely close to holding on C there.
Absolutely. We'll see what Boston has planned for their attack round here as we get ready to get moving with round number 2 here on Junkertown.
So historically, Boston has done what many other teams have done, that is to say, using the Hanzo and the Widowmaker combination, moving one of their support players over to the Bastion. And that was a style that we saw pioneered in the preseason by Seoul Dynasty.
Right.
And on the other hand, it looks like Seoul might be going for something a bit interesting. Pick composition here. Jaehong is back out on the Mei. And they're going to be using that with the traps from the Junkrat and the hook from the Roadhog to isolate people and quickly pick them off.
I really love this Mei from Jaehong.
I do too.
It's such an X factor that you just can't practice for very well. I mean, no other team is running the Mei on Junkertown right now. So you know, when you run into this, you kind of have to adapt on the fly, and that's been tough for a lot of teams.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to effectively escort this payload and you're dealing with the Bastion. Well, the best barrier against the Bastion is simply to put the ice wall in front of him.
Yep.
Dreamcasper will take out Miro right away.
That was a very, very fast kill. Where's the res? They're trying to lure Toby out.
Yeah, you
so
can't.
Dreamcasper can find a shot.
Yeah, can't go for that res, unfortunately. That means that Boston's going to be able to push the payload all the way into this second choke point while they wait for Miro to respawn. He is still on his very slow way back with this Orisa.
Yep. Takes a long time, despite having twice as many legs as every other hero in the game.
Still incredibly slow.
Yeah, that's right. Dreamcasper finding a couple shots over the top of the building there, looking for a kill onto a Wicked. Can't find him. Fleta does go down though. Striker, his arrow finds its mark. Boston on the payload for the moment. Jaehong just gonna stall out with that ice block. He does go down though. Neko with the kill. Dreamcasper still lurking on the flank. Wekid, one of the only members of Seoul still standing here on point A. That payload is moving very quickly.
Yeah, the issue with using this Mei is that if you can't use the ice walls in the first and second choke point, Mei doesn't really have a lot of value. As you notice, Boston able to get around through the second choke, and there's not a great place to isolate somebody with the Mei wall to create a zone, prevent them from going through one of those buildings, or just cut off the entire choke point itself.
Yeah.
So once you're at that point, you sort of just have to resign yourself. But the quick pick from Boston allows them to move much further and much quicker than they normally would have been able to against that composition.
Now we'll see if they can keep it going here in point B. Taking a position up on the high ground. Miro trying to come around the side, checking to see if there's anybody vulnerable in the back lines. He's low. Oh, can he get over it? Nice kill, actually. A little bit of damage from Dreamcasper, and Kalios finishes that one out. Toby brings Miro back up again. Oh, but Fleta finds himself on the wrong end of a sniper round. And it's a brawl at the moment, but Boston can't quite get to the payload, it seems like.
Well, they're trying to save this fight with a Valkyrie right now. Fleta
so.
was harassing Striker in the back lines, and now Kalios will be doing the same thing. Fleta been zoned out of this engagement, and they find the Mercy. So Boston, again, with a better ult economy when it comes to those support ults, and they're able to push it on through.
It is interesting. You know, we've talked about Seoul's supports being kind of in a rough meta for them. You know, we normally see the Lucio Ana, right? And now we see Toby and Jaehong having to play heroes that they're not quite as dominant on, and I think it is showing a little bit here.
Well, I'm liking...
Cool, Miro.
Miro! Yeah, diving in there. You're going to try and salvage this with a Riptire.
Now they got Striker, but they didn't stop them from taking the point.
Nope, they did not. And that's one thing that's been impressive about Kelix is his judgment of when to use the Valkyrie. You can really see the Boston Uprising are performing well as a unit with their communication.
Jaehong threatened by Kalios. If he can get a D-Mech on Zimba, that'd be big, but it's tough to chase that far. Anybody in spawn? Nope. All right, the payload is moving. Dreamcasper just camping out on that. As Widow, Neko meanwhile on the high ground trying to back away, but too many members of Seoul there to take him down. And back to the payload goes Kalios here. Seoul already pretty far ahead in this fight. Looks like they might be able to find a bit of stability here defensively.
Actually, Kalios gonna catch people. Striker flanked around the backside of the staircase for the pulse bomb.
Man, just when you thought it was going Seoul's way, Striker comes in and saves the day with that 2-kill pulse bomb. And they do have to take a little bit of a break either way, but Seoul certainly not able to get the stop they wanted.
No, and because they died later, they're not going to be able to stop that forward progress of the payload either. Miro going in deep one more time, going to start using that Primal Rage.
Well, he gets Neko, so decent start right off the bat. The res does come in, though, of course. Striker firing on the side, nearly has another Tracer ultimate built up already.
Kelix going to be using that Valkyrie. This is one of the very few times we've seen him use it first in this game, and Toby will hold on to his in response. So may have been an overinvestment right there, especially because they have already been pushed out back towards their spawn. So they're going to have to recover, and it's going to take some time off the clock to be sure, while they can't push with that ability. And Wekid.
Oh, you know, sometimes those Junkrat bombs just go in the right place at the right time. Just ask Jake. He's familiar with it. Either way, that's going to slow down Boston a little bit more here. They've still got about 3 minutes left on the clock, so coming into point C with a bit more room to work with than Seoul had on their attack round.
Striker's going to be trying to make another long flank here around the upper level. So he's attempting to find an angle onto Jaehong or Toby.
Right.
So he can use that pulse. He's coming in right now, gonna find Jaehong.
That's a good D-Mech onto Kalios. Meanwhile, Wekid looks for kills, finds Neko with that Riptire. Soul coming out ahead on this one.
Boston's problem right now is that they've run the same play about 2 or 3 times in a row with Striker trying to get a long flank in. And because now Toby and Jaehong are watching for this, he tried to go onto Jaehong and Toby immediately flew back to give him some of that mercy healing. They needed to attempt a different approach.
Yeah.
They're gonna send everybody on the low ground through the low ground this time, so they're attempting something different. Striker this time is on the payload.
There's a res on Miro. Valkyrie used by Toby. Dreamcasper does go down, and here's Fleta with the Dragon Blade trying to find a couple targets. He cut down Kellex early in the fight, and he's gonna get more, and that's gonna be another stronghold for Soul.
It is. Jaehong also keeps his Transcendence up. They didn't have a use for it or a need for it. And Kalios throwing in the self-destruct, not really able to create a zone or get any kills in that fight. So a couple unnecessary ultimates used there by the Uprising. They are really finding this defense through these small choke points on either side of the point, tough to crack. They're going to try the same attack again. Fleta is behind them.
Okay, well, Kellex nearly has his ultimate, but he's taking a lot of fire from Fleta here. Fleta getting out, trying to escape, a little bit low health, finally gets the healing from Jaehong. There's a Primal from Gamsu, but here comes a Riptire. This could be big. Dreamcasper taken down. Neko fell to Jaehong earlier. And so Soul pushing Boston all the way back to spawn yet again.
Miro finishes the kill onto Kellex right as Kalios.
That's big. If he had not killed Kellex, that may have been a problem for Soul. But
yeah, definitely would have been with the closer spawns,
yeah.
But as it stands right now, Miro will be able to jump over through the middle of the map and around the U-bend and get right back into the action by the time they regroup. Striker again trying for the flank around the side. No pulse bomb this time, but Zunba is ready for this. You can see they're already moving to counter.
You know, if you've been keeping an eye on the kill feed, you've seen Neko die early in pretty much every push here. At this point, Fleta has kind of got them downloaded. He's been able to find Neko a lot and illuminate that Zenyatta before the push even begins.
It's been an issue, and we've seen from Boston more of the Tracer Genji dive style of compositions than really anything else they've run.
Sure enough. Here we go again, diving real deep, but Gamsu goes a bit too deep, gets taken out. Oh, and Kellex lured in. The trap was set, and Wekid sprung it, man. Double kill with that Riptire, and the push is done again. And you know, one criticism we've had with Boston is that while they do look well practiced, they haven't shown a large variety in strategy, and I think that's coming back to haunt them right now.
Yeah, they definitely are struggling to adapt here on point C. It is a hard point to take, but they have been read at this point by Boston, or by Soul rather, and they're just getting punished in these choke points.
One last chance, OT ticking away. Gamsu's gonna drop down on the payload to keep the overtime bar alive. Fleta with the Dragon Blade kills Kellex immediately. There goes Gamsu. OT ticking down, and Soul already has the kills they need unless there's another big turnaround. Dreamcasper maybe a big no Dragon Blade for him as he was killed by the self-destruct, and that will be it. Soul Dynasty tested, but they will hold on Junkertown.
I still think we saw some impressive play out of Boston, but just like everybody else that's played against the Dynasty in this very young first season of the Overwatch League, things only work up to a point, right? You can run that strategy. Eventually, they will figure out the adaptations, whether it's in terms of composition or in tactics that they need to make. And Boston was simply running the same play over and over and over again on point C. And we saw Dynasty respond to it differently every time, whether it was coming around the flank on themselves with Fleta in the back, just running different tactics.
Sounds good. Exciting first map. Second one coming up just after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel. up first, we have to introduce the Boston Uprising.
A lot of pressure on these guys.
There is depth to this team that people did not expect to see.
My personal goals for this season is I want to be best teammate.
I want to be the best main tank player in Overwatch League.
Wow, Boston just destroying Shanghai.
My personal goal is to get to know my team really well and show people we can go really far in this league and not come out last place.
Wow, great play actually from Dreamcasper.
Right now, I think it's very possible for us to get into playoffs.
You can see they could be a very competitive team.
For now, Boston Uprising is weaker and not popular, but I think we have potential to be the best.
They're young, they're scrappy, they were able to pull off the victory tonight.
Well, guys, Boston's scrappy indeed, and a pretty solid first map despite the strength of Seoul. Really wasn't until that very end where they couldn't really find a different way to break point C that things kind of fell apart for the Uprising.
Yeah, and what I really like about watching Boston play is many people assumed that this was not going to be a very good team coming into Overwatch League, but what the organization itself said was that they were looking for coachability first and foremost, and I think you can really see that with this roster because as far as communication and fundamentals go, very solid. But the question is, can they adapt within the game itself? And they've been struggling with that, but I think that's going to come in time, and then they're going to be very dangerous.
I agree, too. And I mean, if you look ahead to stages, 2, 3, etc., I think this team's going to really come up. As you can see on your screen, Bunny subbing in for Wekid, making a little bit of a swap. So bringing in a Tracer specialist for map number 2. We can play other things, but it's pretty much what we know him for as we look ahead towards Horizon Lunar Colony.
And I think this makes sense considering that, like many other teams, the Dynasty have preferred running the Sombra, Moira, and Tracer combination on point A. Now, worth noting that Boston did win Horizon when they played up against the New York Excelsior. So they picked up a pretty big win there. And New York was running that very mobile triple threat strategy that I just discussed. However, Boston did have trouble holding on point A and was winning with a Genji Tracer dive composition through some good stalls on point B. So they should know that there will be this look probably coming out from the Dynasty, and they should be, we'll see if they've made the right adaptations in order to prolong the take of point A.
Right. And that's going to be kind of the keys of the game for these guys going forward, right, is adaptation. Are they going to be able to adjust in the heat of the moment to what their opponents are doing? And I got to say, Seoul's probably going to be the biggest test of that kind of thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think we can say no team has adjusted better than the Seoul Dynasty has.
Yep.
Even if they have struggled, as we saw in that last map.
Well, we've talked about it too. I mean, despite their supports being in kind of a meta that's not favorable for their favorite heroes, for them to do this well in that circumstance really speaks to just the overall incredible strength of this team.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, though, and if the meta changes, it will only make them scarier.
Yep.
They can start playing that Ana and Lucio again. They're going to be feeling good.
I really can't wait till Jaehong's Ana comes back.
It has come back already.
We see it a little bit, but
he plays it more often than anyone else.
I miss seeing it every map like we used to, though.
Okay, so Boston played this dive composition both on attack and defense against New York on Horizon, and it's going to be matched by dive from Seoul. So we're not going to see the Moira, Sombra, Tracer, and they're just going to try and out-dive the opposition. So Miro will dodge ahead to do a little bit of scouting right here. Now, usually dive compositions on Horizon work with an engage as you're crossing through this open ground.
Right.
If you're on the attack. So are they going to try and bait this out? No, they're just going to go onto the high ground.
Wow, they are going in hard. Miro getting really, really low, and Boston's going to punish that. Miro Fleta dying early, Zunba demeched. Disaster for Seoul. Can Boston get to the point, though? Or can they defend it anyway?
Yeah. And
they can get to the point all they want.
They can go back, just retreat. But I like the way they're playing now.
Just woke up.
And you see that because they already have the high ground advantage, only so many of these Seoul heroes can get up quickly onto the high ground. So they were rapidly outnumbered as Boston came back
Sure enough.
in order to defend.
Now Jaehoong trying to come in again. This time they're ready for Gamsu. Orb of Discord gets on him right away. A lot of extra damage. And so now Boston without one of their tanks here.
And Bunny, all he's doing right now is just trying to force them to come back onto the point and defend. And that caught Boston a bit out of position.
That's the plan. Now they're going to try to catch Boston outside of it. Dreamcasper pulls out the sword, looking for a few victims. Miro jumping to safety. Can't get any kills with that. But Seoul will go ahead and win this fight. This may just be point A.
Yeah, 3 members of Boston still alive, but they're not going to be in great shape to retake. So will be a delayed take on point A. Took a couple of attempts. Seoul changed their positioning. You'll notice that because of the back cap, Boston had to think about getting back to the point, and also they forced members of Boston into a corridor where it was difficult to anti-dive them. Now,
a lot of momentum coming in for Seoul here. They've got some good ultimates to work with if they decide to go in.
Will be Dreamcasper switching to McCree to try and deal with the dive right now.
Yep. All right, Miro does fall. Fleta waiting for that Dragon Blade. Is he actually going to use it? You may want to wait here. They've committed a couple ults, though, so they might just try to grind this one out. We'll see. Bunny did get caught by Kalios' self-destruct. Toby brings him back. Fleta's still waiting. And now with the Transcendence, he's going in. Oh, but a Trance on the other side from Neko, too. Gets done with that flashbang, taken down by Dreamcasper. And it's going to be Toby running for the hills as Boston will hold.
Yeah, and both teams had approximately equivalent ultimates. Each had one fight there on point A. And I think, again, we're really seeing how well Boston's supports are communicating. Neko and Kelix, again, very patient, assuming Fleta's going to be pulling out that Dragon Blade, always trying to make sure that Seoul commits first, and then they'll have the advantage to actually finish out that fight. So really, really good stuff when it comes from Boston and that ultimate efficiency.
That commit was a little bit surprising too, but they decided to go for it. Oh, Miro again, getting a little bit too deep. They caught him.
Miro's been overextending a lot.
He really has, yeah. Jaehong taken out. I mean, this push is basically over. When you lose the Winston like that right off the bat. Oh, nice pick on the Toby. Gamsu really punishing this, and now the spawns for Seoul are getting extra staggered.
Yes, they are, and Kelix also almost catching up to Toby here with the Valkyrie. It looked like there may have been a window on the next attack, but as the fight finishes it out, both of our Mercy players will be coming back with the Valk. And Dreamcasper also now his first opportunity to zone some people out with that Deadeye.
You know, I wonder what happened with Miro in that last push. I didn't see if he had the ultimate when he jumped in last time. Maybe the plan was to pop that right away and create some space, and he just died too fast. But either way, it's looking a little bit off for Seoul here on this attack.
Yeah, flashbang is often, if you can burst him down fast enough.
That does hurt you a little bit. Keeps you from pressing Q.
So Dreamcasper has been playing behind this barrier for most of this game right now, waiting for people to try and dive on top of him.
Yep. Oh, there goes Bunny. And Toby trying to escape again.
Wow, they're actually using the Valkyrie. This is going to be very difficult for them to win.
I don't know, man. Yeah, that's very... Oh, nice stick on the Dreamcasper, but he gets res before he even hits the ground. Seoul really putting a lot into this one, and it may come back to haunt them. Striker has that pulse bomb. There's the self-destruct, has to get out of the way. Gets caught by it anyway. Thought he was behind the pillar, I guess. And now Seoul comes storming back on the back of a couple tank ultimates, and they are getting some serious time on this control meter.
Wow, I didn't think that was going to work for Seoul at all, Doa, because they lost 2 players before the Valkyrie was even used, so both Resurrects had to be used immediately.
Wow,
but immediately afterwards, the target calling using the mobility of the Tracer and Genji, all 6 players were just hopping around to opposite sides of the point to focus down people one by one.
Yeah.
So they used the time in which the Resurrects were occurring and to get Toby back in there to make sure everybody on Boston was split in a ring around the point and then just pick them off one by one. So target selection there working out, but I am very surprised they were able to pull that off.
Yeah, that was a little bit shocking. Well, Boston suddenly looking at their opponents with a bit bigger time bank than they may have hoped for.
Yeah, 311 is quite a bit of time to work with on Horizon. Question now is, are we going to see Boston run the same style of attack with the Genji Tracer dive that they've run previously? They did make, of course, that alteration to the McCree, but I think if you're Seoul right now, you just keep running the dive comp until somebody can stop you from doing it, and they managed to take both points pretty quickly there.
Might as well. Some little uncharacteristic mistakes too from Boston too, especially on the side of Striker. getting caught by that Diva ultimate. I mean, he knew it was there. It was right on his screen, and maybe thought he was behind the pillar, but it seemed like he was tunneled a little bit on going after the supports of Soul and just kind of got caught at the wrong time.
Well, I think that being tunneled was perhaps the right play in theory there because of Toby opening himself up for some dangerous play coming all the way across the point. And
just not when there's a self-destruct next to you. That's normally you'd want to take advantage of that, but you have to be aware of your surroundings, Monte Cristo. You were the guy that fell into the pit in Mario a lot, weren't you?
That was me, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Environmental issues. You don't like
you know I'm a terrible Mario Kart player. I fall off the map all the time.
I do know that.
I'm super bad at Mario Kart.
I love Rainbow Road. Yeah, that's a good map for the 1v1.
I'm sure we all have our gaming kryptonites, though. Mine is Mario Kart. It's the game that it doesn't matter how much I play, I will never be good.
That's right. Mine is games with too much text.
Reading, Doa's weakness.
That's my kryptonite. Boston Uprising on the attack. Oh, Dreamcasper taken down early.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to move back to him. His body is surrounded by members of Soul right now, so this will have to be a respawn. Both teams back to playing the dive. I think it's bold if you're Boston to try and play dive versus Soul Dynasty.
Sure is. Do you think they're relying a little bit too much on this comp? We've seen it more and more from these guys.
Yeah, I definitely think they are.
Yeah.
But right now, as a newer team, I think that...
Whoa,
that's a nice kill, though.
Yeah, Toby trying to escape, not able to do it. Kalios picks him up. Kills coming in.
Yeah, Buddy killed both their supports, though, so...
that helps.
Boston going to have to wait this one out, even as they are able to isolate Zunba. Zunba still hasn't been DMAC. Finally... We'll lose that, and he's gonna...
I'm in space!
Buddy and
I'm dead in space!
Zunba going to go try and play in space right now. Rewind, and there's a bit of distraction here on the side while his allies get back to the point. Bunny will voluntarily try and reset, but it's only going to be 4 members versus 6 on the point from Boston Uprising. They're going to get this one up.
Yeah. Boston should have it. That was a nice little stall on a couple members of Soul. They are going to get way up front here. Soul comes in to try to defend. And Boston's just going to bottle them up between points and not let them get there.
Yeah, I like what we saw from Boston, too.
Yeah.
They weren't so obsessed with capping the point. They knew that if the supports got too close, which we did see from Jaehong and Toby, that they were going to be vulnerable without Bunny there, still waiting for that respawn. So they take that opportunity to kill the supports, and yes, they'll be back now, but they're not necessarily going to have the best positioning, and they get a little more ult charge for themselves as a result.
Oh, speaking of ult charge, Boston close to 6
versus
ultimate.
6.
Yeah, it's going to be 6 on each side. The apocalypse is real. Here we go. Diving in, Striker. Just trying to find the opposing Tracer. Bunny gets a little bit low here. Kelix dies really early in this one. Somehow Zunba got him.
No ults used by Soul yet. They're holding on to him.
Yep. Kalios down into that Pilot Diva form. Dreamcasper can't quite kill Toby. He's got another opportunity here, but no, the healing is real, and Boston has to back up.
That's great discipline from both teams. So both teams were approaching 6 ultimates, and neither of them used a single one.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
That's very good discipline.
Yeah.
Both teams knew that when Kelix went down, the fight was effectively over, and at that point, it was a mind game trying to get each other to push those ultimates out and see if they could get an advantage going into another attack, but neither team bites.
And so we come into this push again from Boston with 12 ultimates still available. Oh, Dreamcasper goes down early here. None used yet. Kalios trying to turn things around, but Soul just all over them. The dive has been, when you're on this point where it's so wide open, here's where you're really going to see who the better diving team is.
Yeah, you're going to be trying to control some of those ults. Bunny actually will demech Kalios. So the one ult we saw used coming in was just the pulse bomb to force Kalios to have to either reset his ultimate by going back to spawn and swapping heroes back to Diva, or to slowly ping away with the Bunny Blaster to get his mech back. So that's just a great delay. Both teams really, really disciplined right now.
No kidding. Jaehong, you would really love to hit somebody with a big Zenyatta alternate fire. I'm just assuming.
I think every Zenyatta player
that's what every Zen loves. Flat up on the high ground.
This is such a great game of chicken.
Yeah. Or chess. It's so cerebral. Oh, Kelix cut down fast here. Fleta may find both supports. No, Neko to the rescue, saves himself. Boston with a couple kills, they've got the man advantage, but without the Mercy, can you really push this? They're gonna try it here. Now the ults start to come out. Jaehong backing away, needs to worry about that Tracer a little bit. Striker certainly a danger. There's a Transcendence, Boston committing, and they do kill Kobe. Jaehong has to pop his own ultimate to try to keep the team up, but Dreamcasper is still gonna find those kills anyway.
Neko actually getting another kill onto a DPS hero, so this is Boston's opportunity.
Dreamcasper's gotten like 4 kills in this fight, putting Boston on his back and carrying them now. They've nearly got that first tick, but Toby coming back in with some reses. He had that Mercy ultimate. Dreamcasper's still alive though. Miro just trying to keep people off the point. There's still not that first tick taken by Boston yet. Are they actually gonna get pushed back here? Wow, Soul manages to pull it out of the fire in the end and deny Boston even a tick on point B.
And all 12 ultimates were used in that fight, Doa.
Crazy.
And you see both of these teams aware of a timing. Boston thought that by having that death from Soul in their back line that they would be able to push forward and use the ult and the man advantage just to try and take over that point. But with Toby resurrecting and the Valkyrie coming back on, there was a narrow timing window that Boston couldn't quite execute on.
You know, you do see pushes held, but generally the attacking team gets at least 1 or 2 ticks on the control meter. That's what I'm really shocked about, is that they managed to do it without giving Boston anything. That's crazy. Boston coming in now again. Down to 2 minutes left in the time bank. It's time to make something happen, and Gamsu falls really early. Kalios trying to compensate Dreamcasper with a kill on Defleta though. And maybe they can push ahead a little bit more here. Gamsu back up again. Dodging that self-destruct now. Dreamcasper about to go back in. Pulls out Miro. Can they keep him healed up? Reflect, looks like they can. And throughout all of that, D.Va was still on the point, denying Boston time.
And guess what, Doa? Toby still has that Valkyrie, so he's going to go ahead and use it now.
He's going to try. Kelix gets stomped by Miro, actually. So now the only Mercy up for Soul. And Boston, they're backing away. Kalios D-Mech, that's going to be a pretty... Okay, they didn't stagger him as much as they could have. Going to go instead after Gamsu, get another late kill on the tank. Soul once again holding.
Well, Boston thought right there. Neko and Kelix again doing a good job of timing their ults. When Fleta came in and tried to kill the Zenyatta, we saw Neko just immediately use the Transcendence, and that's when they wanted to attack again. Fleta couldn't get anything done with the Dragon Blade. And so it looked like an opening was presenting itself. However, Soul was able to constantly keep one person on the point, and Boston with just slightly better target selection could be winning these fights.
Toby got low, but he stayed alive for the moment anyway. Zumba back on the high ground. They're going to demech Kalios early. Good start for Soul. Fleta just waiting, man. He's got opportunities. Yeah, doesn't even need to pull out that Dragon Blade. Self-destruct catches Neko. Another push stuffed by Soul. Oh, they're going to go up to the Dragon Blade. Kelix in danger, cut down. Oh, Fleta just decides to punish, and with 20 seconds left, you really can't blame him. Absolute desperation for Boston, but it just is not going to be enough unless they get some sort of crazy desperation push going here.
I mean, it took the Transcendence just for Neko to get back to the point. Fleta took an opportunity after Neko died, knowing that if the Valkyrie was popped, he could counter it with the Dragon Blade, find that Mercy, and he does.
And that is it. So Soul Dynasty will win the map and go up 2-0 in this series.
I mean, that may be 2 maps for Soul, though, but the level of teamwork and coordination we're seeing out of Boston right now for such a new team is impressive.
It's a tough match for Boston, although Soul has definitely been looking better in the last couple maps. Like you said, Boston showing a lot of strength on their side, too, if not maybe enough adaptability.
Yeah, but take a look at that last point with the 12 ult and the game of chicken that we saw with the ult economy. Really fun Overwatch to see. And we haven't gotten enough of that yet.
No, I'm sure we'll see much more as the season continues. We're going to take a break. Coming back to halftime right after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP. It's halftime, and so far, it's all Seoul Dynasty. They lead 2-0 here at the half. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Puckett. Alongside, we got Reinforced Inside Show to break down all the games. We're going to start here with game number 1. Now, coming in, we said this is a great opportunity for Boston. You're going to be playing on Junkertown and then Horizon, 2 maps that could give South Korean teams some trouble. Seoul Dynasty, they gave up the first 2 points. Boston started to roll really on their attack, but then Seoul really turned the game around. As we look at some of the highlights though, Johnny, I know we were focused early on the Bastion, Neko, normally a support player bringing out one of the star DPS, but later in the game it became all about the tanks.
Yes, it did. We saw both teams playing dive here, and Miro, he was opting for that Winston. I said maybe plan for the Orisa, it is Junkertown after all, but it was the aggressive dives from Seoul Dynasty that really shut down Boston Uprising. And maybe they figured something out here, because Dream Casper, he hasn't played the Junker this Overwatch League season, and so there's no peel to really get the Miro off Boston's back. And so far, Miro's just free to do whatever he wants.
That's a really great point. No Junkrat being played by Dreamcasper. We talked about the amount of heroes, 9 different heroes. Junkrat, he's been a star in several other matches. A bit surprising to see Boston not running him quite yet. You mentioned Miro, though, the impact he had for Seoul. Let's take a look at some of his highlights and walk me through some of these power plays.
Yes, Monte Cristo mentioned that often Miro actually overextends in a lot of these fights, but it's just a distraction to really create so much space for the rest of Seoul Dynasty. We see Primal Rage repeatedly being popped, and he's just smashing people in the backline all the time. But it grants so much space to Fleta, and also Boston can't really handle this big Winston, because as I mentioned, we see Dream Casper on the McCree. A flashbang isn't really going to be the difference maker. A flashbang isn't going to shut down a Winston. So it's a great read by the coaches of Seoul, really, and a great strategic matchup.
And let's look at some of the numbers here from the main tank from our Seoul Dynasty lineup. You can see it takes him about 2 minutes to get to his average ult, but then the ultimate's not really where he's getting all of his kills, Johnny. He's getting the job done just with that Tesla cannon and some punches.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this hero damage done. It's actually insane what a difference. Gamsu often, he is a reactive Winston, so he often looks at Miro, what is Miro doing, how can I punish him, and how can I take this next fight? So when Miro keeps jumping in aggressively, Gamsu is opting to peel and jump back at Miro, who is in the backline of Boston. But that means he does less damage, but as a Winston, he can't really peel Miro off himself either. So Gamsu keeps doing not much of anything besides some great Primal Rages this series, but overall the impact of Miro versus Gamsu has been so favored for Seoul Dynasty.
Now, as we mentioned, Sideshow, this was actually looking good for Boston in the early stages. Yes, Seoul was able to complete all 3 points, but Boston was doing it faster through points A and B. On point C, though, they got snuffed out, and we're about to look at some highlights here from the Seoul Dynasty and what they were able to do. We talked about their ability to adapt. They knew everything Boston was going to throw at them, and were ready for it.
They absolutely did. When it got to that final point, they really struggled. So here's an Insights powered by Intel replay that I'm going to take you through. We're paused at the moment, and I'm going to just highlight a couple of players. So this is the setup from Seoul Dynasty. You can see that Miro here is positioned very far forward, as we were saying, taking aggressive positions. And Wicked in the middle has sight lines going this way and can also go left. So whenever they identify which avenue Boston Uprising are coming from, they can shut that down. Fleta's also got the whole of this left-hand side kind of locked off, along with Jaehong over here on the left. And the rotations are just phenomenal from Seoul Dynasty. As soon as they notice that Boston Uprising are coming from the right-hand side, Wicked is launching players in. They've tried loads of different things at this point, Boston, and now they're just going for a really deep dive effect. Now, here you start to see Gamsu come in, and immediately I'm going to pause it again, because as Gamsu comes in on this super deep dive, trying to get onto the support line of Seoul Dynasty, you see that Wicked instantly takes himself out of the fight so that there's no damage going to be applied to him, and both of the supports back really far up. So you've got Toby and Jaehong are going to start moving backwards here to kite out and separate the distance between their backline and their front line. So as you start moving this forward again, Zunba comes in and collapses so that they're focusing down Gamsu very early. Toby uses his Valkyrie so that he's got the movement abilities to be able to react to it. Miro from his forward position unseen is also able to collapse, and Kalios and Neko don't even get into the fight. This fight is also just completely ruined by Wicked's tire that comes in over the top and grabs a 2K here onto Dreamcasper and Kelex, utterly ruining it. So this was the Insights powered by Intel, and I think the most impressive portion of this is just the rotations that we see from Seoul Dynasty. Because as the way that they've set it up, they're locking down all of the choke points, and they're also able to rotate and adapt to whatever dive that Boston Uprising throw at them. They move their backline back, they put Wicked over on the side so that he can peel for them, and both of their tanks come back and destroy everybody. It's clinical stuff.
That was an absolute amazing breakdown. Can we give it up for Sideshow here? Yes, awesome breakdown from top down. We got to keep it rolling. Let's go into our second map. It's Horizon. We talked about Boston. You got to win over New York on this map. Can you get it over the Seoul Dynasty? They had a pretty decent initial stop to the attack from Seoul, but from there, it seemed that Seoul really started to take over the map. They were slowly able to grind out point B.
Well, it was more of the same. I think it was Zoe who mentioned at the desk also that the coaches of Seoul Dynasty said that Boston is really predictable. The only strat they have going for them is this dive. And so Seoul really just figured Boston out, that they keep winning these fights, they keep diving with Miro, etc. And Boston really don't know what to do about it. So we keep them, they try to find different routes. Is Gamsu going to dive deep? Or is he going to peel, etc.? But they haven't really found a solution, and Seoul really has such a strategic advantage. And it kept on during Horizon.
And Boston Uprising, when we saw them run this excellent dive on Horizon before, it was into this Orisa Roadhog kind of strategy where you have a very set position. And Dreamcast was flanking around, they knocked them off the high ground and punished them. Seoul are not playing like that. Seoul are not running static compositions against Boston. They know that Boston are going to run the dive, and they're like, okay, come at me. We know that we can run this better. And it's been a phenomenal showing from them so far.
Yeah, and I like to mention as well the ultimate management, because we see when Boston gets stuck like this, they keep diving the supports of Seoul Dynasty when they have the Transcendence up and then when they have the Valkyrie up. So Toby and Ri Hong, they never really die despite the dives of Boston Uprising. So they need to keep track of the support ultimates of Seoul Dynasty if they actually want to execute properly.
Moving into games 3 and 4, that is going to be the key to victory for me. You got to keep your supports up if you're Boston, and you got to start getting some picks on the Seoul Dynasty support players. Let's take a look at a few clips here. This is Seoul Dynasty using their ultimates to prioritize kills on Kelix. Every single time Kelix, the Mercy for this Boston squad, is going for the res or going to pick up his squad, you see tires in his face. You even see Miro popping the Primal Rage and just trying to knock him away. Fantastic use so far of the ultimates by the Seoul Dynasty. In the second half, how do you keep your Mercy up? Because he died 21 times compared to Seoul's just 10 deaths from Toby.
Well, actually, I think that in this case, Kelix needs to be a bit more passive, because when Gamsu jumps deep on the Winston, then Kelix likes to pop the Valkyrie to stay with Gamsu and heal him up. But Seoul Dynasty in this case, they utilize it so well, so every time they see Gamsu diving deep and Kelix popping that Valkyrie, they counter it with a weak keyed Riptire, of course, and just pluck him out of the sky.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've noticed, especially on their play on Horizon, is that Seoul are able to get so much room by diving Neko and Kelix, and they don't have, even though Boston are very good when they're playing offense, and they have great offensive dives, they're not so good at being able to collapse and protect their own backline with peel. Some of this has got to come down to the fact that they aren't playing the Junkrat at the moment, but even so, Striker being able to zip back in and help out bursting these tanks down is going to help them a lot, and that's what I'd like to see moving forward from them.
I'm looking forward to our next map, and that is what's coming up on the other side of this commercial break. The action continues with the Oasis. Control is coming up next after the break. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places.
league that offers opportunity for talented competitors to test and push our assumptions about how the game is meant to be played.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the Blizzard Arena.
We are back at the Blizzard Arena here in Burbank, California. Don Monte Cristo here, guys. And right now, Boston down 0-2 to Seoul, but it certainly hasn't been a one-sided affair.
No, it hasn't. And I really liked Sideshow's breakdown on the desk as we see Wakid back in for Bunny.
Yep.
Because it showed that one of the things Seoul is doing differently than many of the other teams that we've seen play in Overwatch League, most teams will go ahead and after a reset, teams coming back together, try and use that rip tire to get a pick on the front end. Instead, they're retreating and waiting for a Boston to commit and then using it as a reactive pick mechanism. And it looks like Boston really hasn't been able to deal with that threat and keep Kelix alive.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the counter dive has really been the strongest thing in Seoul's favor, but I think things are going to, excuse me, whoa, I had a bug or something, I don't know. I think things are going to change a little bit here as we go into Oasis, where there's going to be room for playing something other than the basic dive for both these teams.
You say that, Doa, but the last time we did see Seoul play on
I said
this
there's
map,
room.
There's
right?
room.
There's room. I didn't say it was going to happen.
It was Lucio instead with the Tracer and the Genji, but it looks like we may see something different this time with Wakid in. He may actually be playing the Tracer in spite of the fact that we've seen Fleta, he has been playing a lot of that Pharah, but so has Wakid, so I guess a bit of a question coming into what will be City Center.
Yeah, you never quite know, but you'd imagine that the Pharah is going to come out at some point in Oasis. I mean, that would be the logical reason to put this guy in for this map.
And as for Dream Casper, I think really when he first caught my eye in the earlier days of Overwatch prior to the beginning of the league, it was because of his Pharah play. So it looks like he'll be going back to that hero right now. We will not be seeing Gamsu on the Doomfist, to the surprise of no one, and Kelix will have a comfort pick on that Lucio.
That's right, here we go. Seoul in the white, Boston Uprising in the blue as we get things started here on Oasis City Center. Winston's meeting on top of the tower as the teams start to trade fire a bit.
And we are gonna see a little bit of initial poking right here. Wakid, interesting to put him in this roster when you have Bunny and Munchkin, who are more or less dedicated Tracer players.
I am a bit surprised since they're having Fleta play the Pharah, but maybe they've got something in mind for a different point here. This round, the point is unlocked. Boston capturing here. Seoul coming back in. There's a kill for Fleta. Oh, but air-to-air may do it for Dream Casper. Can't quite get the finishing blow. But he came close. Now he's on the retreat here.
Yeah, they're all going to be pushed out now as well. Can't get an opportunity to get the resurrection up and available, and Kalios will be demeched and immediately killed by Wakid.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem here. Ooh, one more shot on Zunba might do it, but no, the heals come in, and Seoul will go ahead and get their control percent building first here on Oasis. It was quite the brawl, but Boston could never really finish the kills they needed to.
Dream Casper will go ahead and end Zunba there, who's playing far forward. Won't really make the big difference. He is only slightly staggered behind the members of Boston Uprising, and at least he'll get his mech back in this scenario.
Yeah, you can get back to the point pretty quickly here if you're D.Va, of course. Toby on the Lucio, so finally both of these Lucio guys getting to play their hero of choice. Boston trying to flip the point. Toby taking a look from the high ground here. Meanwhile, Fleta still trying to rain rockets from above. Finds Striker, not enough damage, so Dream Casper with the barrage does take down Miro. Where's the res? There it is. Jaehong goes ahead and uses that ultimate to bring him back up again. Fleta waiting for that perfect opportunity with the Pharah ultimate. Is it gonna come soon? He's gonna chase Gamsu in there, finds him inside, but there's a Primal Rage, and he's low, and he's taken down. Fleta not living. Toby drops that sound barrier. Fleta not part of this fight, though.
And that's going to be the end result. Toby saving that sound barrier for later on in this fight, but they still find themselves short of Fleta on the Pharah as Boston continues to attempt to grind out the actual advantage and flip it over.
That was a really kind of a bold barrage from Fleta to try to use it in that room, and it didn't pay off at all. couldn't bring him back. The Valkyrie Reses had already been used by Jaehong, and they're still fighting, though. I'm actually surprised that they've kept it going this long. Zunba pushing them back, and so Boston with an opportunity there, but Seoul just barely clinging to life.
Well, it's amazing that they were able to last as long as they did, with Fleta having to come all the way back from the spawn, but at the end it was the conservative use of the sound barrier that gave them enough HP to hold on to that point.
True enough, nice pulse bomb after the rocket comes in, and Weki finds himself a kill onto Gamsu here. Fleta back with a vengeance, another nice shot on Dreamcasper as Jaehong gets the kill on the Mercy actually. With the Mercy, Seoul starting to really take Boston apart.
And Fleta was incredible on the Pharah in week 1 and showing off his skills again here against Boston, 100% to 0 in favor of the Dynasty.
And Boston had an opportunity at one point in the match, but like you mentioned, Monty, just the staggered support ultimate usage on the side of Seoul. Toby waiting a little while to use that sound barrier made the difference. And Weki, we didn't see a lot of what he was doing on the Tracer, but I think our answer can be he was doing enough.
He was definitely doing enough, though.
He did get that nice pulse bomb onto Gamsu at the end.
He also was just picking off the low HP targets after the Pharah had already chunked them out, so important synergy there with Fleta. Now, this map is, we are going to be on University for our second point, and this is where we saw Dreamcasper show one of the most impressive Roadhog performances so far in Overwatch League by having that 87.5% hook accuracy. Which nobody who's really played any time on Roadhog in the league has yet to come close to.
We'll see if he can repeat. Jaehong gets a kill on the Striker early, so there's a advantage for Seoul as we get things started here on University. Dreamcasper does manage to demech Zunba though, so no Diva on the side of Seoul. Weki on that Junkrat, as you can see, already has his Riptire. Are you kidding me? That is crazy. He got the Riptire basically before the point even unlocked.
Yeah, that was very fast. Bully some members of Boston all the way back off the point right now. Fleta will get resurrected, and that'll be everybody resetting right now. Again, there's not going to be a dive composition. Boston Uprising has made adjustments. They're trying to play triple tank with the Moira and just death ball the point itself. And once they get on it, can use that crowd control and the choke point to really make Seoul's life difficult, but it does make it difficult to retake.
Here comes the Riptire trying to find the back line. He gets a lot of damage, but no kills. And Neko right there on the Moira to heal everybody back up. Fleta finds the Deadeye kill onto Dreamcasper though, so it is a man advantage for Seoul. Nice flashbang, stuns enough members that more kills come in for Seoul onto Boston, and they will be pushed back yet again.
Wow, that was such a good flank, and he thought the danger was over after the Riptire. They were getting healed up by the Moira as a unit, but the zoning Deadeye, Dreamcasper, fortunately walking into the open.
Well, I mean, Fleta just kind of walking up on the flank and getting 2 or 3 people with that flashbang, and didn't get any of those kills himself, but when you stun that many people, it's such a huge edge that you give to your team.
28 seconds to charge that first Riptire, as you see from Wakid. And Wakid was also the one who was finishing off the kills from the flashbang by chucking the mine into the mob.
Nice flashbang onto the ulting Dreamcasper. He still gets the kill onto Zunba anyway, and now Boston managing to flip the point back. They are not going to go down without a fight.
Kalios trying to punish them on the high ground by sticking them to the wall with the Graviton Surge. And back when he was in Korea and playing at Apex, Zarya was Kalios' best hero by a quite significant margin. So we expect good things from this guy when he's on this hero.
On board with Neko now on that Moira. Riptire out there again somewhere. Gotta watch out. Gamsu gets the kill on the Fleta with a Fire Strike actually, and Striker not finding anything with that McCree ultimate. Kellex does go down though, and remember there's no mercy on the side of Boston, so anyone who dies is dead permanently. They're going back to spawn here. Neko backing away with that Coalescence out, but 2 support ultimates rather, used by Seoul to try to tip this fight in their advantage, and that's about as tipped as it can get.
Yeah, using that Coalescence late in the engagement just to keep Gamsu alive for a little bit longer. Seoul patient as they waited out, get the 2 remaining kills from the Uprising, and now they're going to be pushing up right now. They have self-destruct and the Deadeye, so it's going to be hard for Boston not to get completely zoned off the point.
And I mean, the idea with that comp, right, is you don't use the Mercy because hopefully nobody's going to be dying. Because
yes.
You've got so many AoE, so much AoE healing, and you've got all those hit points of the tanks. But if somebody does go down, it's a big problem, as you can see. Fleta, no kills with that Deadeye. Zunba finds Neko, though, actually, and that's a problem. One support already out. There's a kill on the Gamsu. This push is falling apart, man.
That is overtime almost up. They've got to take out Kalios. He's the last man standing, and that is going to be it.
All right, well, it ends up being a quick 2-0 for Seoul Dynasty here on Oasis, and that will mean they are the winners of this series. One more map to play for that important map score aspect of everything, but Seoul, looking pretty dominant in the map score overall today.
Yeah, I think you do have to commend Boston. They were getting beaten at their own game by using the dive composition. It was time to make some adaptations, but it still looks like Genji Tracer Dive is their best composition that they can run so far. They're a new team, and so you expect not the greatest amount of versatility, but it's matches like these where at least you can make some strides towards that compositional diversity.
Oh, it's another nice concussion mine from Wekid here, and cool to see what he can do on that here. One more map when we come back, guys. Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP and by Intel. The most successful players in Overwatch history. It's the Seoul Dynasty.
It's gonna be fantastic to see.
우승해서 서울 다이너스티라는 이름을 널리 알리고 싶습니다. 당연히 저희 팀이 가장 잘하는 팀인 것 같습니다.
And they have added some unbelievable DPS players. Letta before is a guy to watch.
팀이 가지고 있는 목표 또한 우승이죠.
blink and you'll miss it. Seoul will take the series.
게이머들이 최고다고 생각합니다. 성적이 보여주는 것 같아요.
This team, it has a fantastic core and base of teamwork.
개인 목표는 역시 세계 최고의 플레이어가 되는 게임 목표 역시 세계 최고의 팀이 되는 것입니다.
So many stars on this lineup.
팀을 위해서 제 목표는 당연히 우승이죠. 우승을 위해서 모든 것을 할 거고 많은 지원을 할 겁니다.
Well, it's hard to argue, guys, that Seoul is anything but the best team in Overwatch League right now. Certainly looking like it as they are up 3-0 over Boston Uprising. A good showing for Boston, but this really did just go all Seoul's way.
Yeah, especially that last map, and we'll see if Boston can put up a fight here on Numbani, which will be our last map, if they have any more strategies available to them.
Well, no subs as we go into our final map of this 4-map series. That means Wekid is staying in for Seoul. No more swaps to Bunny or Munchkin, who is out there on the bench somewhere.
I'm just amazed when we watch Seoul and they bring in Wekid. It's been a little bit, we haven't had enough matches to really understand fully when and how they bring in their substitutes, especially when they have Bunny and Munchkin, and then Wekid's the one playing the Tracer.
On a control map.
On a control map, that is a bit of a surprising look for this roster, but perhaps, of course, with Wekid also playing the Junkrat, they may have just run the Tracer on that 1 point, and
I think that's probably true.
Yeah, it's tough to glean too much without more data into the logic right now when it comes to their player usage, but it doesn't seem to matter, Doa, because they keep on winning.
Nope, it doesn't seem to matter, at least not quite yet. You know, Boston certainly making them work for it, but it has been fairly dominant in the end. Ooh, I want to go on a Numbani tour. That sounds fun. Let's do it.
We're getting a Numbani tour right now,
just
Noah.
not this part of Numbani though. This is where all the rockets and like bullets and crazy robots and
museum heists.
Right, museum heists. So this part of Numbani, I will pass.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's lots of other very safer, nicer parts of Numbani. This is not a good advertisement for the Board of Tourism of Numbani.
Yeah, it's not actually.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Come to Numbani. If you're good at dodging artillery. Yeah, otherwise, stay home.
Well, it is going to be the Ana, which I assume we will also see from Seoul on the defense, because you give Jaehong the opportunity to play that, and he will take it. And a pretty standard look other than that. Dreamcasper on the Soldier 76.
Yep, no surprise there, as that is a great hero pick for him. Go on the Ana. So it's going to be Fleta on the Pharah one more time as Seoul Dynasty comes in. Wekid on the Genji. Get a little bit of dive, a little bit of death from above. Miro scoping out the high ground here as he comes around the corner.
Yeah, they're actually all coming in as a unit. Sometimes we see the Pharah flank around the opposite side, but they want to jump on this Ana, the Soldier, immediately.
Well, Gamsu comes back to try to defend his backline here. Seoul has managed to push Boston off of the point for the moment, but they're coming back now. Fleta over the top, gotta be careful. Ooh, getting very low in the health department before the heals come in from Toby.
Yeah, but what they've done, Seoul, already is force the supports and the Soldier onto the low ground. That was their goal. Come back for a heal and then re-engage.
A good kill on the Gamsu there. The zoning has been effective from Seoul, that's for sure. Kalios comes in just to try to buy some time, create some room for maybe the res to come through on Gamsu, which it does. And now Boston may be able to turn this one around. It looks like they will. Nearly 2 ticks taken by Seoul, but that may be all they get unless Wekid has a great Dragon Blade here. I think that was a bold move to pull that out right now, and most of his team was dead.
It was a ultra bold move. He had no tanks. It was him and 2 supports.
I think
left on the point when the Dragon Blade was unleashed.
It's a fine line between bold and bad, and I think that may have crossed the threshold there.
And we combine them, it's bald.
That's a bald. That was a bald Dragon Blade. You think Genji's bald underneath that mask?
I have no idea, Doa.
I think he probably is.
What, did he lose all of his hair in the catastrophe which occurred?
Maybe there's some cool like pipes and like wires and stuff going in there too. I don't know, who knows. Wekid going down, gets brought back up again, of course. We need another cinematic to tell us this. Soul on the attack one more time. Boston a little bit harder to push off the high ground this time around. And here comes Attack Visor. Dreamcasper gets Fleta before the Transcendence comes in. Let's see what the self-destruct does. Not much besides pushing Boston back a bit. Can Soul capitalize on the positioning, though?
Yeah, they've got Miro and Zunba in the backline right now, trying to harass these supports and push them off. It's a 4 versus 2 on the point itself right now. That means Kelix and Gamsu are going to be having a hard time.
Fleta dies again. They've had his number the entire time, but Soul Dynasty making up for it by winning this fight for the moment. Another good delay from Kaleo. Self-destruct comes in, no kills, and Jaehong taking matters into his own robotic hands to get a couple more kills as they're going to finish off point A.
That was just some excellent zoning by Soul.
Yeah.
You see how meticulous they are. They push people off the high ground back onto that street, redouble back onto the point, and when Boston tries to re-engage, they send both tanks right back in to zone off the healing from the enemy team, and they just have, of course, commit that nano boost right there. Oh, beautiful by Jaehong.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, commit the nano boost into self-destruct, but can't actually finish off those kills, and that's what's been great about Soul is the divide and conquer tactics that we've seen so far on Numbani.
Yeah, well, Neko finds that kill into Weki. Gotta feel good. After losing point A, Weki brought back up again, of course, by the Mercy Res. But Boston trying to keep that payload from moving forward, but they are getting slowly shoved back here.
And Toby going to use that Valkyrie also. Kelix is not available yet, just has it right now.
Yep.
He's still getting chased around.
Oh, Kelix kind of finds himself a little bit on his own here. They're going to send the self-destruct in. Don't know if they're going to catch him with it, but it does create a lot of space. Yeah, why not, man? That's what Valkyrie's for.
Toby chased down Kelix during his own Valkyrie and picked up that kill. That was Kelix attempting to get back to his teammates. That was a bit of a panic Valk right there as you saw him isolated on the side, was going to die, and that means there's going to be one fewer crucial ultimate to use to defend on point C.
Kelix has had some really good Mercy ults today, but that one did seem a little bit out of sorts.
They're not showing the same level of ultimate discipline that we saw on some of the other maps.
Yep. Soul still rolls forward here. Gamsu coming in again. Shield broken quickly by Fleta. Here comes Attack Visor now from Dreamcasper. Not finding any kills with that though. Transcendence is going to prevent any more damage from coming in, and now Soul pushes forward off of that Zenyatta ultimate. See if they can get a bit more. Flashbang doesn't connect, but a couple bullets do. Gonna need to be careful coming around this corner though. Oh, Weki says, nope, I'm just gonna pull out the blade, man. Couple supports, easy peasy, man. Weki finally goes down, but he certainly made his presence felt.
That self-destruct simply going to be blocked by the Winston bubble. Wakid will be brought back up by Toby in the Valkyrie. Valkyrie's going to come through for Kelix as well, but they're down so many people. It's going to be hard to try and get a lot of value out of this ability.
Oh, that's a lot of damage from Jaehong. Look at that! Picking Kelix out of the air in the Valkyrie. We've seen it before, and there's another clip for Reddit.
Kelix really didn't have a choice right there. He had to take a risk to resurrect people just to hold on to the payload.
It is not easy to pick people out of the air like that, though. That is impressive stuff from Jaehong. Transcendence gonna pave the way for this payload to get the rest of the way. Here in point C, one by one coming on to the point to try to stop it, but it's not enough. And Soul will complete their attack run here on Numbani.
Yeah, impressive stuff. Boston tried to counteract their dive in their first attack, or their first defense, and succeeded, made them reset. But from there, it was a pretty clean push through the streets and museum phases of Numbani.
Yeah. That attack from Soul in point A was really just fun to watch. I mean, just a great use of positioning and zoning and all that. And it was so methodical, too. We see so many teams in Overwatch just kind of go in and try to hit that back line hard and try to just get those picks. But Soul was very much like, this is our space now. You can't come here. Now we're going to move you here. so on and so on until point A was gone.
Yeah, and you're simply not going to be able to heal if you're falling back to the streets.
Yeah, or res people that die in the front.
With your supports, because you can't get close enough, and there's a Winston putting it down a bubble in front of you, which is cutting off the line of sight for the Ana, so you can't heal people through it.
Yep.
And it just becomes a massive issue. But if you play it deliberately and you can control the positioning of the enemy supports on attack, then they basically just have to sprint at the point, or you have a numerical advantage in terms of players on the point itself, and it's just getting one kill at a time, picking them off, and just forcing them to come back in. So
yeah,
nicely done. We are going to see Wakid back on the Junkrat and Fleta on the Widowmaker. So this is actually quite a different style of defense than we might have assumed.
Interesting.
Wakid will be on the far side trying to control the choke points if they choose to go to that high ground, and Fleta, as a result, should get a lot of opportunities for some long-range snipes.
Toby jumped into second place for most Mercy final blows. Good luck, buddy. Godspeed, Toby. You can get that stat. Oh, yeah. Here comes Boston going for the dive again. This time Neko on the Lucio, though. Trying to move to that point a little bit quicker.
So they look like they really want to just speed boost their way into this point.
Yeah.
Fleta's playing very far back. He's all the way back behind the streets right now, covering the point itself and the entry as they come in here from the streets. They're going to jump onto the high ground, and they'll find Wakid immediately.
Yeah, great dive to begin things. Weki did not last very long. Neko does get picked off by Fleta on that Widowmaker, and Kalios nearly demeched. He is demeched now.
Oh, he's just going to kill Dream Casper too, so nobody actually is on the point. Scott's just trying to chase him around right now.
Wow, I can't believe Toby lived through that. He must have had like one health left. That's crazy.
Nick of time.
Didn't live through that
game,
one,
and he's not going to live through that one, but both of the Mercies will go down alongside Neko again.
Yeah.
So Soul, in spite of a bad dive, pulls it off, but Fleta had all the room in the world to work right there, and as soon as they went onto the point itself, Fleta hits a couple of headshots, and that's going to stop Boston's advance.
Oh, you're really just not expecting the Widowmaker if you're Boston, too. I mean, you do a pretty normal, well-executed dive, you kill Junkrat, but you're just not counting on those shots coming from way over where Fleta is. Now they know, so now we're going back to that theme we talked about earlier. How are they going to adapt?
Yeah, how are they going to adapt? They're going to head at least, looks like the same way, but they're going to try to dive onto the high ground again. They are out of sight of the Widowmaker. That means Fleta has to reposition.
Yeah, but they're out of sight of the point, too. Losing a few more people here. That's another push. Unsuccessful for Boston. A little bit of resetting going on just to get everybody back to spawn quicker.
Fleta actually trying to peek on them right now because they're standing over by the bus right around the corner from the main entrance.
I mean, you notice Fleta getting more bold here. Maybe that's something Boston can capitalize on.
Well, he needs to keep moving his position up, so they're not going to know necessarily where he's coming from. Falls back off the high ground. He goes actually right back to where he was. So until somebody pressures this Widow, they're going to try now. They're going to put down the bubble.
Yep. Doing what they can, trying to cut off that line of sight for the shots. Jaehong way in the back here. Doing the damage he can. Primal Rage. Hughes gets batted around, gets taken down. That's a kill in Boston's favor, but already Soul pulling ahead in this fight a little bit. Kelix in a little bit of trouble. Using that Valkyrie, staying alive for the moment. Toby going after him. Neko taken out by that Riptire, and that may be about it, unless this turnaround, Dream Casper, have he and Striker gotten enough picks to pave the way for Boston to take this one.
And they're trying to re-engage right now. Fleta is down. He was killed by Dream Casper and Gamsu. But the support's still vulnerable from the uprising.
Well, that was the best shot that Boston had yet, but as they head back towards their spawn, you see Soul just so poised.
Well,
so unflustered from any of this.
Yeah, and the communication is there. The Dynasty knew they should not save Fleta in that situation. We're going to take a look at this.
Welcome back, Junkrat.
Yeah, welcome back. And there's just a bomb into the clustered members and a second one dropping the mines into the uprising. And they knew they shouldn't have saved Fleta in that last fight because he had already successfully distracted both the Genji and the Winston from the opposing team. So the investment not worth it.
Not so much. Oh, that helps. Jaehong. Hey, guess who's back on the Ana? You felt it. It's Jaehong. Keeping everybody healed. And now just 20 seconds remain for Boston. A lot of ults to use, but they really, really need to get something big going here. Oh, and Neko in a little bit of trouble. Pops the Transcendence. He's been so separated from the rest of his team.
That was really odd that he tried that flank.
Odd and disastrous for Boston, as they are going to be without that support ultimate. Fleta still looking for shots. He's going to get dove. We're into overtime now. Jaehoong was hiding, waiting for the pressure to come off. Oh, nice shot with that bionic grenade. Helps Weckit get the kill onto Kellex, trying to keep Fleta alive. Manages to do just that. And the members of Boston falling once again. OT will only last about as long as these tanks do, I think. Kalios does get 2 with the self-destruct. They got it. I think they got the point, man. They got the point.
They managed for long enough.
That's crazy.
It was only Miro who was on the point, while the rest of the members of Boston were trying to dive that back line. And so a couple members in reserve forcing Miro out early. They were slowly moving up that control percent.
Well, you talk about positioning, and that's something that Seoul may have kind of forgotten here at the end, is they were still very close to taking it when they came in with this push based on some of the previous ones. And yeah, check that out. So the payload's moving. We're not done quite yet.
As you can see at the start of that replay, they had already gotten those 2 ticks from just having Miro engage earlier. Everybody else was falling backwards, trying to deal with the aggression of the Boston front line.
And speaking of aggression here, Striker throwing that pulse bomb in, getting Jaehoong right after Dreamcasper gets a kill of his own. Boston certainly not going down without a fight here.
I don't know if Jaehoong's going to be sticking with this Ana anymore.
Yeah, I think it's time to swap, and he already has. He's on the Zenyatta now, but that's going to be point B for Boston. I doubt Seoul can get there in time to stop them. They're not even going to try. So just like that, 2:43 on the clock in Boston with a bit of time to actually tie things up.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fleta, of course, moving over to the McCree as well. Boston back and looking comfortable on this dive. This is where they've been the most successful in the early parts of this Overwatch League season, and he's coming back to it right now. Dreamcasper looking for that window to use his ultimate.
Yeah, here's where it gets really tricky. Nice reflect into Fleta. Striker capitalize on it. Dreamcasper getting the back lines. There's a kill onto Jaehoong. Still hasn't even needed to pull the Dragon Blade yet. Gets both supports. Boston putting together a miracle push here at the end of their attack run.
Yeah, but they didn't get much movement on the card because Miro was there stopping it from pushing forward towards the point. So the result of that fight is a win. Weckit is still behind the members of Boston, by the way. He's going to use that Riptire. He's up on the high ground. You can see it coming through.
A big Riptire would be really nice for Seoul right now, as that payload is basically there. They get Neko, and that's going to be the ticket for Seoul to push ahead. Boston, even if they are taken down here, which it looks like they will be pushed back a little bit at least. Well, Kellex popped the Valkyrie. They're going to commit to this. Oh, enough of that, says Zunba, man. That is a 3K with the self-destruct, and Boston needs to reset. They've still got a little over a minute left, though.
Yeah, that was actually around the corner, away from the payload.
Tricky,
and
very tricky.
That Diva mech slipped around the corner, as you're going to see. So they're all afraid of Miro right now in the front line. Going to try and push it back, and then watch this.
Oh, yeah.
Just catching him right as Kellex comes around. So close.
Lined it up so it just went right into the door, too.
A bit of luck there, and Kellex almost escaped.
Yep. Boston not out of it quite yet. Transcendence coming in. Gamsu does fall. Seoul with the early tank kill to stabilize here on the payload. They're going to get Striker too, so now Dreamcasper running back. He's still got that Dragon Blade. They've still got at least one more attack here.
But this is smart. Fall back if you're Boston right now.
Oh, yeah.
You have time for another attack. You just saw the Transcendence come out. You just saw the Valkyrie come out. So if you can get the big Dragon Blade, might be able to push this to the end.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. Final attack coming in for Boston. They need to make it work. They do get Fleta early, but remember, the respawns are so close. Uh-oh, Toby in a little bit of trouble. Here comes the Dragon Blade. Supports in danger. Dreamcasper, he can't find them, though. He doesn't know. Now he finally finds Toby. Can he get the kill? Puts the blade back. The healing comes in. Neko falls on the other side. And Dreamcasper, they needed him to have a big blade, and it did not work out. Now he's low health, facing down the Junkrat, but the kills coming through for Boston. We're into overtime. Can Seoul barely hold here? Zumba falls.
Yeah, Toby with the Valkyrie up, so Fleta Comes back and picks off 2, and it looks like that is going to be it for Boston as the members start to fall one by one.
Yeah, it seems that way, man. What a push for these guys. But in the end, just like it's been all series, Seoul a bit too strong, and they will take the 4-0.
Another impressive showing from Seoul Dynasty.
And if you look at the Boston Uprising, too, I mean, you can't really say a lot of things they did wrong in that series. It's just, when it comes down to it, Seoul is just better. But good showing by Boston.
Yeah, I really like what we're seeing on some of, at least with their internal team communication, when it comes to using those ultimates.
Yeah.
When they've been running the dive, they've been at their strongest. So from here on out, it's just about getting some more team compositions under their belts and fixing some small errors on that dive. But they're going in the right direction.
Seoul's still the king. What can you say, guys? We'll be back in just a moment.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
Hey everyone, we're back once again. My name is Zoe and I'm now joined by no other than the man himself, Fleta from the Seoul Dynasty. Please give it up. Fleta, first of all, of course, congratulations to you and your team for yet another victory. You in the past have been a part of teams which unfortunately didn't see that much success. Now you're joining the Seoul Dynasty. What is it like to play alongside such talented players and a team which has so much potential to actually win the whole league?
먼저 플레타 선수의 성공과 윈과 그리고 저희 서울팀의 승리에 대해서 축하드리고요. 지금 플레타 선수가 최고의 선수들과 함께 좋은 팀에서 경기를 하고 계신데 전에는 플레타 선수 잘 하셨지만 이렇게 좋은 경기력을 가진 선수들이 아닌 팀들과 경기를 하셨었잖아요. 지금 이렇게 잘하는 선수들과 하시는 기분이 어떠신가요?
일단은 세계 최고의 선수들과 함께해서 항상 즐겁고 또 영광이라고 생각합니다.
It's an honor to play with the world best players, and I'm always happy with that.
Well, we're always happy to see you on that stage as you go off on literally every hero you can play, and you can play a lot of them, really. Now, so far your team is undefeated, but next week you're going to go up against NYXL, and this is the first time we're actually going to see two Korean teams facing off against each other. How do you think you guys are going to do against them?
지금까지는 저희 서울팀이 무패 기록을 하고 있는데 다음 주에 처음으로 한국인들로 이루어진 팀인 뉴욕팀과 경기를 하게 됩니다. 경기 결과에 대해서 어떻게 될 것이라고 예상하시나요?
일단 뉴욕 팀과의 경기는 힘들 것으로 예상되지만 저희가 일단 준비하고 있는 게 많기 때문에 이길 수 있을 거라 보고 또 파인 선수와의 대결이 좀 기대됩니다.
It can be tough with New York, but we're preparing a lot, so definitely we will win. And also, I'm really excited to play with Pine.
All right, I love the confidence. Fleta, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. We can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us when you're facing off against the NYXL. But for now, let's head over to the desk to break down the game we just saw on that stage.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Great stuff there from Fleta. He is always on point, and already he's walked away with several players of the match honors. Now to break down the action, I brought back in Reinforce as well as Sideshow, and we're going to start here with Oasis. It was a 2-0 lead at the half, and it quickly became a 3-0 lead. Just two stages here as we take a look at some of the general highlights. What did we see from the opening from both squads?
Well, they were both playing Farah Mercy, as is often the way on these stages of Oasis. But then when it came to University, we saw a different look coming out from Boston Uprising. Gamsu over on the Reinhardt. They had this triple tank strategy going forwards, and Seoul put on a masterclass, really, of how to deal with that with their dive. It was phenomenal to see. But what's great from the Boston Uprising's point of view is that they seem to be starting to diversify the strategies that they can bring into different stages, and they do look decent. It's just that at the moment, Seoul is better.
Yeah, but even then, last week they played the same composition versus the Florida Mayhem, and so Seoul, they look really prepared on Oasis, despite Boston trying to adapt.
So Seoul was able to do some homework, and they were able to get their studies done. We have a telestration here from Reinforce, and as you saw Boston, they were able to switch it up midway through the game. They brought out triple tank, and Seoul, we talked about their adaptations. We're about to see another one, Reinforce.
I mean, this positioning from Seoul Dynasty is just insane. So Boston Uprising is playing this tank death ball, and they're going to collapse on someone. But I want to point out Seoul Dynasty's rotations here. This is a retake from Seoul, and we're going to see in the upper hand of the screen Sunba and Miro rotating on the upper, and we're going to see Wicked rotating down here, and just Seoul spreading out so much. So as we play this clip out, we're going to see that Boston is trying to capitalize and collapse on someone with the Lucio speed boost. In this case, it's going to be Fleta coming out of the spawn. But before we even get there, I want to just pause here for a second. I mean, just look how Seoul Dynasty is spread out on this clip. We have Miro on the upper center of the screen. We have Sunba up here as well. Wicked down here with a Rip Tire. Rija Hong on the bottom. Fleta on the left side of the screen with Toby. So, I mean, with this kind of spread coming out of Seoul Dynasty, Boston Uprising, they really can't capitalize on pushing all of these guys at the same time. So they get Fleta here, and then they have to rotate back to the point. But because Seoul Dynasty is so split up, they really can't continue this death ball. Wicked's Junkrat is going to just cause a mess here. Toby's going to resurrect Fleta. And because of these rotations, I mean, it's so impressive how they just dismantle this tank composition from Boston.
And this is one of the reasons as well that we've seen Reinhardt kind of take a dip out of the meta, because when you have such mobile heroes and you can spread out and you have the coordination, the Reinhardt-centric compositions that all have to stay together and move around the map, they can't find anybody to pin down. I mean, they essentially just went 6v1 onto Fleta there and then got collapsed by the other 5 members of Seoul Dynasty. So it's very difficult to get value out of these Reinhardt compositions unless your opponent is running something that's similarly static.
Let's keep it moving now as we get into our Game 4 discussion. Game 4, it was Numbani, and coming in, Seoul Dynasty, pretty decent attack. In fact, on their defensive end, it looked like they were going to go for a full hold, but Boston extends the game. Let's go through some of these general highlights here and talk about the opening that we saw out of Seoul. Dreamcasper on defense was forced over to the 76, and it seemed to be paying dividends.
Yes, we actually saw the Soldier coming out of Dreamcasper. We have seen a lot of teams favor the Soldier, especially on Numbani, trying to shut down the Pharah of Fleta initially, but it didn't really work out, especially when you have Toby just flying around and getting mercy kills. Rejong as it comes in as well, gets fixed, and Calyx overall through this series got picked off quite a lot compared to the counterparts on Seoul Dynasty, so maybe calm down his aggressiveness a bit on the Mercy.
And I think for Calyx as well, something you see with Toby and Seoul Dynasty is that when Toby goes for these aggressive resurrects or aggressive positionings, that a lot of the time somebody else on his team will be doing something that draws all of the attention of their opponents. On Horizon, we saw him going in for 2 really clutch resurrects, but nobody could attack him because there was a Dragon Blade on the other side of the map. So it's very difficult to try and pin down Toby in these circumstances, whereas Calyx is really the only guy going for a play at that point. So he needs a bit of distraction from the rest of his team, I think.
Johnny, I want to wrap this up with a question about Boston. They are now sitting at 1-2, but their 2 losses come to the full Korean lineups that are undefeated, the New York XL and the Seoul Dynasty. How good is this team right now, and where do you expect to see them at the end of these 10 games that they're playing through stage 1?
Well, they have been pretty impressive when they're playing their dive compositions, and we see a lot of the Western teams, Philadelphia, Gladiators, all of them are opting for these dive compositions. And so Boston has been performing really well, very disciplined dives as such. Yeah. But when it comes to these Korean teams, I mean, the Koreans just read them and just counterplay so much. So they don't really rely so much on individual skill going up against Korean teams, and they struggle so much harder.
For me, every week it looks like Boston's getting a little bit better, but they still have a bit of a ways to go. One man that doesn't need any help, his current play is pretty solid enough to get our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. It's Miro, and the man was going off since the very beginning on Junkertown.
Yes, and I mean, he hasn't had that much playtime throughout Overwatch League thus far, but finally they found a use for his aggressiveness, and they just punished Boston Uprising throughout this series.
Yeah, he is so aggressive, and he very rarely gets punished for his aggressive positioning, mostly because he's either got the Primal Rage or Toby's in a position to resurrect him. So he's able to make so much space for his team, whilst playing so aggressively, able to get right up in their faces, do a huge amount of damage, disruption, space creation. His statistics are also kind of crazy, Johnny.
Yes, they are. I mean, you look at the deaths here. I mean, 4.61, which isn't considerably that high compared to other Winstons, but he is still so aggressive. So this guy really knows his limits, and especially the Primal Rage usage is just flawless coming out of Miro.
Great games out of Miro. Go ahead, Satcho.
Something that really, when you look at that players knockback, 272 players knockback, that's the impact and the impact on the leap. He had 70 more than Gamsu. He's been able to either get into the choke points or counter dive onto people and get huge value out of that.
They played around the aggressive Winston, and Seoul Dynasty gets the win. It's now another 4-0 that they add to their overall record. 4-0 overall match count for Seoul Dynasty, our first team to do so. Coming up next, though, we got a battle between 2 0-3 teams. It's going to be the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Florida Mayhem. We'll find out which of these squads is walking away with their first big win of the regular season.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Heroes never die.